Okay, good morning everybody. How are you all? I hope so. You all are doing well. Myself Sunil Pawar once again welcomes you back for the new session of biology from New Catholic Mission High Secondary School Chabua. As you know that we already finished second chapter and now we are going to start the third chapter. Okay, the kingdom Plantae. It is such a big chapter, much more contents are there. So to facilitate the study, I actually divided it into the two parts. It may be 3-1. Okay, so the first part which we are going to discuss, that is basically about the algae. Okay, and somewhat portion of the Bryophytes is also covered in this one thing. Then Pteridophytes and the trichios and the angios and gymnosperm will be discussed in the next one thing, right? As you know that in the 5 kingdom classification, just an introductory part, we already learned that the kingdom Plantae is basically a group of organism. In this one basically they are eukaryotic, multicellular, remember, eukaryotic, multicellular and autotrophic in nature. This is the basic feature. Okay. Again I am repeating, eukaryotic, multicellular, autotrophic in nature, right? And you know that the unicellular eukaryotic autotrophic was kept in the which phylum? Sorry, which kingdom? Right, it was the kingdom Protista. Okay, but here we are talking about the developed autotrophs. Okay, so here in generally, first we are going to talk about this one thing. This kingdom plant is such a vast kingdom. Okay, it contains so many species and so many genera are there. Okay, and here this plants actually having the eukaryotic cell, multicellular composition of body, and basically it is autotrophic in nature. Okay, autotrophic means surely these are not chemosynthetic, these are photosynthetic. It means they have color pigment. Okay, basically it is the green color pigment which is responsible to trap the solar energy and to perform the production of organic food material. Clear? In this one thing and one more feature, they have a rigid cell wall. Clear? In the previous chapter, that is the previous topic, that is the fungi, we also talk about the cell wall, but the basic difference of this one, remember one thing, whenever we talk about the plant cell wall, then surely it is basically consisting cellulose, remember. Okay, and then secondly, the secondary and tertiary is the inner cell wall. Later we will discuss this cell wall in the cell components. Okay, in this one you will come to know that this pectin, chitin, okay, this one thing is also there to give it the strength and the mechanical support. Clear? So here they are having the chloroplast cell organelle, in which they have this chlorophyll as the color pigment. Okay, you also, I think so, you saw the different colors of leaves also. Okay, but they have their basic color pigment as a chlorophyll, and then later as a secondary color pigments are also there, right? And then here this color pigment is there to trap the solar energy, and this solar energy is used to compose and combine the organic material. So here we are talking about the characteristics of the Plantae. You know that these are non-motile in nature. They are having a substratum, the lower quality plants, okay, and the higher one, they are having a very strong hold fast, that is the root, okay, which remain fixed in the soil as well. It is responsible to absorb the minerals and the nutrients as well, the water too. Okay, so they are basically non-motile, they remain fixed on one place only, right? They make their own food, that's why we call them the autotrophs, and remember they are photoautotrophs. Clear? And basically some of basically they are multicellular eukaryotes, and they are having the outer cell wall made up of cellulose, and one more characteristic feature of the cell when we talk about the plant cell, then its nucleus is shifted at the periphery. Okay, and what is the reason? The reason is that in the middle of the cell there is a big air vacuole. Okay, so this presence of air vacuole is the identity of the plant cell, and because of this large air vacuole, it is responsible to shift this nucleus at the periphery, right? Now, the plants contain photosynthetic color pigment, as we talked earlier about it. What is the speciality of this one thing? It is not cytoplasmic depending in nature. It is not directly suspended in the cytoplasm. It remains inside the double membranous organelle, that is the chloroplast, remember, okay, and the store food, that is in the form of the starch. Okay, first they produce the simple carbohydrate glucose, and later on this glucose turns into the starch. Okay, and then they have different organelles for anchorage, reproduction, support and photosynthesis. Okay, this is the speciality of this one thing. Because they are non-motile, so they remain fixed on one place, and from here only they perform their all life activities. Okay, so for the anchorage, from rhizoids to well developed taproots are there. Okay, now we are moving forward. Here we are going to discuss the classification of the kingdom Plantae. Okay, actually when we talk about the classification, then it is based on these three basic features. One, that is the plant body, second is the vascular system, and third one, that is the seed formation. Okay, so what is the plant body? There is whether presence or absence of the differentiation. Likewise, the root, stem and leaf. Okay, when you move from algae to well developed plant, then it will be very clear that, okay, whether their plant body is differentiated into this one or not. According to their nature, their complexity, you will have these three different parts. Okay, now then the vascular system. What is the function of vascular system? Vascular system is basically responsible to transport. Okay, not only the transportation but also give the mechanical support to, right? So this transportation and mechanical support is provided by the vascular tissue. So how this vascular tissue or system is complicated in nature, and basically you know that the vascular tissue of the plant is xylem and phloem, and when they togetherly present in the form of a bundle, we call it the vascular bundle. Clear? Now then the third quality is the seed formation. So when we talk about the seed formation, so whether these seeds are naked in nature or they are having a well developed outer seed cover. Okay, so on the basis of this one thing, you know that the two categories are there. One is gymnosperm and second is angiosperm. Okay, basically plants are divided into two categories, non-seeded plants and seeded plants. Okay, and then the seeded plants is further divided into two categories, that is the gymnosperm and the angiosperm. Naked seed plants and the seed coated plants. Okay, so this is the basic fact about this one thing. Clear? So in general, when we talk about the plant classification, there are these five categories: thallophytes, bryophytes, pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperm. What is the features and how can we classify them? We will talk later. Okay, so just take this flow chart of classification there. First of all, kingdom Plantae. Clear? What are the basic feature? Three main basic feature. Eukaryotic multicellular. Second thing, they are photosynthetic autotrophs in nature, and third one, they have cell wall. Okay, this is a plant. Then it is divided into two parts. One, that is those who are not very well distinct body, and we kept all these organisms in the thallophyte. Okay, this is the first division, thallophyte. Thallus means a flat structure, flat body. Okay, just like a layer only. Okay, and who is able to perform all the processes. Clear? They don't have roots, they don't have stem, and they don't have this leafy structure. No distinction in all these three one. So just a flattened body. So we kept them here in the thallophytes. This is the first category. Clear? Then here we are having the differentiated plant body. Again we are having the next category, that is the vascular tissue. So vascular and non-vascular tissue. Clear? This vascularized plants are further called as the bryophytes. Clear? This bryos means quite developed in nature. Here the body is not exactly divided into root, stem and leaf, but here if you observe that, then they are having this rhizoid like structure who is responsible to absorb the water and minerals. So the bryophyte, later we will further discuss. Then this vascular tissue plants are divided into one that is the non-seeded and second is the seeded plants. Okay, these non-seeded plants are considered the pteridophytes, clear, while this seeded plants are considered as the phanerogames, and this phanerogames further divided into the naked seed plants and the seed underdeveloped in the or which develop inside the fruit, or they are having the seed cover. Clear? Now, so these gymnosperms are there. You all aware about the cycas, pinus and this varieties. Okay. Now they are having the strobilus, male and female strobilus, cones are there. Okay. Megasporophyll and microsporophyll of the reproductive organs are there. Then here this seed bearing plants is divided into two categories, that is the monocot and the dicotyledonous plants. Okay, you know very well that what is the monocotyledonous plants? Monocotyledon. It is very clear. Mono means single and cotyledon means having cotyledons. That means you are all well aware of the cereals, all the cereals. No? This is the wheat, rice, maize, jo, jai, bajra, sorghum, what you call that is the cereal, dhan. Okay, their seed is containing single coat only, where they have the store food material for the growing embryo. Okay, while in the dicotyledonous plants, what is the basic feature? Their seed is basically consisting two cotyledon. All these pulses and all these higher plants, they are basically containing these two cotyledons, and we will cap them where in the this dicotyledonous in nature. So this angiosperm is further divided into two. One is the monocot and second is the dicot. And actually this seed is a great adaptation to continue the survival of the plant. Okay, even in the unfavorable conditions they can be survived. They can continue their survival there only. Clear? Now, so first of all we are taking here the algae. Clear? So now this term was taken from the Latin word, that is the alga, which means the seaweed. Okay. First of all, it was observed in the marine habitat. Okay. So that's why it was named as the seaweeds. You know that what are the weeds? Weeds are actually unwanted crop or the plants which grows in the main crop. So that's why we call them the seaweeds. Okay. So this Latin word alga, which means the seaweeds. Okay. And this algae contains near about 18,000 genera, remember, and nearly 29,000 species. And basically these algae are aquatic in nature. Okay, and we kept them in the first category, that is the thallophytes. You know where that thallus means broad flattened structure. Okay, and because they have thallus like body, so we kept in the body is not divided into root, stem and leaf. Clear? And the branch of biology which deals with the study of algae is called as algology, or it is also called as the phycology. Okay, and this A.F. Frisch is the father of algology or the phycology. And then one more, that is the Dr. M.D.P. Iyengar. Remember, Dr. M.D.P. Iyengar is called as the father of Indian phycology. Okay, remember, he worked a lot in the study of the algae. Okay, and that's why he is known as the father of Indian algology or the phycology. Clear? So now first we are talking about the habitat. What is the habitat? A dual place which provide a proper facility to any organism to survive and to flourishing himself. Okay, so this is the habitat. Clear? So now basically it found in both the fresh water and the marine water, what you call the saline water. Okay, and some algae are also found in the moist habitat like the wet rocks and soil, or in the shaded region also, clear, or even on the tree trunks also, from where they get a lot of moisture and shadow. Okay, from where they get the moisture? From the absorbed water which is present, where soaked water which is present in the dead part of the bark. Okay, now, and some of them are also found in the close association with the fungi. You all are well about the lichens, clear, and you also remember about the blue-green algae, and this one thing too, clear. Now, in the thallus organization, when we learn, this plant body is without differentiation. As I told you, there is no differentiation of the body in the root, stem and leaf. Okay, and this basic form and size of algae is highly variable and ranges from filamentous to colonial. Okay, that means they are having only a linearly arranged ciliary structure. Okay, while on the place they may be in the form of the colony, that means they may be in the form of the branch, they may be in the form of the ball-like structure like the volvox, clear, and the filamentous structure, that is the eulothrix, or you can also call the spirogyra too, clear. This spirogyra, you remember, it is called the pond silk, clear. This silky, this filamentous structure which is present in the pond, okay, now, and these are attached on the substratum with the help of the holdfast, clear. What is the holdfast? That is the hairy structure which help them to fix or settle on the the surface. Okay, now then you have to talk about the structure of the algae cell. What is the basic quality and the feature of a single plant cell? It will be the characteristics of the which one thing? That is the algal cell, clear. So a very well developed eukaryotic nucleus is there. That means genetic material is very well surrounded by or it is remain enclosed within the nuclear membrane, clear. And the cytoplasm contain the membrane bounded chloroplast, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, and other cell organelles also like the ribosomes and this filaments, all this one thing, clear. And their cell wall is basically consisting which thing? That is the cellulose, okay. And then we talk about the food material. These algae are basically produce their food in the form of the simplest organic matter, that is the glucose, but later on it will be stored in the form of the starch, okay. But in brown algae, that is the mannitol and the aminarine, these all are the main reserve food material, and when the red algae, that is the Floridian starch, is the reserve food material. So according to the different varieties of the algae, they will also have this different store food material, okay, except then the starch, clear. Now here we are talking about the reproduction, clear. So basically it may be reproduces with all these three methods of reproduction, that is the vegetative reproduction, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, clear. So when we talk about the vegetative reproduction, then it occurs because of fragmentation. What is the fragmentation? Simply that filamentous structure, because of spoiling or because of accident or because of decaying the middle part of this filament, it will divide into small fragments, then it is the fragmentation, and each fragment will develop into the new plant, okay, and the tubers, that bulbous structure, okay, which will further develop into the new one, stolons, adventitious branches, okay, and finally the asexual reproduction, clear. Asexual reproduction is also produced from the vegetative part of the plant, that algae, but what is the speciality? They have some special features, okay, from where they develop, clear. Just like that, it occurs by a number of accessory spores, just like the zoospores, aplanospores, echinids and the carpospores. What is the basic difference? What is the spore actually? Spores are unicellular, spherical, asexual reproductive unit which develop where in the sporangium by amitotic cell division or the mitotic cell division, clear, and it is surrounded by a hard cystic wall, okay, which helps them to protect from the unfavorable conditions and survive for a long period of time. Clear? And what is the difference between the simple spores and the zoospores? Zoospores are having this flagellated structure which is helpful for their locomotion and movement. Clear? Now, and the bulbous structure in which they grow at the apical most part of that filament, that is called as sporangia, and that filament structure is called as that is the sporangiophore. Okay, the sporangia may be the vegetative cell, a chlamydomonas and ulothix is there, and the modified vegetative cell, that is the Vaucheria is there. Okay, now here we are moving toward the sexual reproduction. Clear? What is the basic feature? The fusion of two gametes, that is the sexual reproduction. Clear? And on the basis of the morphology of the reproductive cells, okay, it may be further of two types. One, that is the isogamous, and second is the heterogamous. Okay, remember this word, iso means same and hetero means different and gamy means the fusion. So simply, what is the isogamy? In this method, the two morphologically similar gametes fuses to form a zygote, likewise the Spirogyra. Okay, what is the basic feature of isogamy? Iso means similar. When the two morphologically similar, morphological means externally, okay, when the two morphologically similar units get fuses, that is called as the isogamy or the isogamous in nature. And second is the heterogamy. Hetero means different. Clear? When the fusion occurs between the morphologically as well as the physiologically different gamete, then it is called as heterogamy. It is again of two types. One, there is the anisogamy, and second is the oogamy. N-iso, N means not. Clear? So, what is the anisogamy? The fusion of structurally dissimilar, okay, gametes which different in size and behavior. The male gamete is more active while the female gamete is less active, bigger in size, okay, likewise the chlamydomonas. Okay, so remember what is the anisogamy? Again I am repeating, N means not similar, iso means same. Clear? The fusion between the two gametes which is not morphologically similar, okay, and even physiologically too, then it is called as anisogamy. And the oogamy, it is clearly depends on the size, shape of the female gamete. Okay, when one gamete produced as a female gamete as a ova or ovum. Clear? What is the specialty of ovum? It is quite bigger than the male gamete. It is larger one, okay, bigger one. It is oval in shape, okay, it has such a large quantity of protoplasmic content of the material, but it is non-motile and remain immovable in nature. Okay, while what about the male gamete in the same one, oogamy? Male gametes are very small, okay, and second thing, they are motile, they are active in nature, they can transport themselves from one place to other place. Okay, so the basic feature of this sexual reproduction. Okay, now then here we are going to move forward about the life cycle. Clear? These algae are also considered the non-embryonic plants. Okay, non-embryonic plant means what? During their reproduction, after the fertilization and the formation of the zygote, zygote will not turns into the embryo. Clear? So this embryonic stage is absent. Okay, and this life cycle may be haplontic, diplontic or diplohaplontic. Okay, and because of this one thing, the alternation of the generation is observed in the algae. Clear? Now, then here we are talking about the economic importance of the algae. Okay, they are important and responsible for carrying out about a half of the total carbon dioxide fixation on the earth by the process of photosynthesis. Okay, you know that they are aquatic, whether fresh water or marine water, whether stagnant water or flowing water, running water. Okay, whether they are on the surface whether it is the moist or the living surface also. Okay, so because of their quantity, they nearly fixes the 50% of the carbon dioxide in the nature. Okay, then some forms of marine brown and the red algae, they produce a large amount of the hydrocolloids in nature. Okay, these are algae, brown algae, and the carrageen, that is the red algae, and these are basically having a lot of commercial uses. Okay, industrially they may use, clear. The algae, which one thing, that is the gelidium and the gracilaria, these are used for producing the agar solution. Agar, what is the agar? Agar is basically used to produce the artificial cultural medium. I think so you remember and learn about the agar solution. Okay, that is a jelly like feature, okay, which gives an artificial cultural medium. Okay, and next one thing, this agar is also used to prepare the jellies, okay, for the food processing and this one thing items. Some proteins rich algae like chlorella and spirulina. Okay, the spirulina, these are used as the food supplements by sailors and especially the space travelers too. Now these days this spirulina, okay, it is called as the single cell protein, SCP. Okay, and now we are even producing it, we are in the laboratory for producing the protein rich content. Okay, now then near about 70 species of the marine algae are used of food. Okay, like the porphyra, the laminaria and the sargassum. These are very rich in the protein as well as carbohydrate content. Clear? Now then here we are going to discuss the classification of the algae. Clear? Basically on the basis of their photosynthetic color pigment, clear, on the basis of the mode of reproduction, then presence and absence of the motile cell in the life cycle, we can categorize basically them into the Rhodophyceae, Phaeophyceae, Chlorophyceae, Mixophyceae and Xanthophyceae. These are basically based on the color pigment. Clear? So like this, Rhodophyceae, it is basically considered normally the red algae. Very clear from this name, red algae means because of their appearance. Okay, and what is the reason behind their appearance? They are having this color pigment like the phycobilin and the that is the R-phycocyanin and R-phycoerythrin. These two phycobilins are responsible to give them red color algae. Even this red sea, you remember, this red sea is because of this abundance of the red algae. Clear? Now then, second is the Phaeophyceae. Phaeos means the brown and it is called the brown algae. And what is there basically? They are having the beta carotenes in nature, fucoxanthin in nature. Okay. Then the Chlorophyceae, very well known because of green in color. So these are also called the green algae, basically containing the chlorophyll A and B. Right. Then the Mixophyceae, the blue-green algae, the carotene and the chlorophyll A is there, Xanthophyceae, this pale green algae, that is the xanthophyll. Okay, you saw that the different colors in the algae are in the plants too. Clear? Basically, this basic photosynthetic color pigment is chlorophyll A and B in general, and the rest are the color pigments are considered the secondary color pigments, but because of their excess, okay, they give the appearance to the plants. Okay, the plant appears this different color because of the presence of this color pigment. Okay, but ultimately after the trapping of this solar energy, it gives to the chlorophyll A and B. They are also present there. Okay, now first we are going to discuss about the green algae, or we call the class Chlorophyceae. Okay, in general this is also considered commonly as a green algae, and you know that nearly 7,000 species are present in this class. And in general, what is their store food material? Starch is the store food material. Okay, when we talk about their special characteristic feature, then first when we talk about the habitat, then they basically marine in nature. Okay, very few are freshwater. Okay, the chlorella, it can tolerate the moderately warm water too. Okay, and even this snow dwelling forms are also there. That's called the this is the monos. Okay, that is the snow dwelling. That means even at the freezing condition also they can survive, right? Then now here we are going to discuss the cell organization: unicellular, colonial, sinusotic or multicellular form. Okay, what is the sinusotic? When a single cell consisting more than 2 nuclei, okay, a large number of nuclei is there, but it is not cytoplasmically divided in nature. Okay, and this chloroplast may be discoidal in nature, it may be plate-like, it may be reticulate, it may be cup-shaped, it may be spiral, or it may be ribbon-shaped. Okay, you saw the euglena, you saw the this one thing, which one thing, Spirogyra, you saw the Ulothrix, you saw the Volvox. This different shape of chloroplast may be seen. Okay, now and even you can see that the pyronates contain the protein beside the starch. Okay, and some algae may store food in the form of the droplets also, that is the oil droplets too. Okay, now then we are going to discuss the thallus. This unicellular green algae, it may be flagellated, unicellular, non-flagellated. The flagellated is Chlamydomonas and the non-flagellated is the chlorella is there. Okay, then this Acetabularia, we call it the umbrella plant. Okay, it has the unicell up to the 10 centimeter in length. Okay, and the distinction of the nucleus containing the rhizoids, elongated stalk and the umbrella-like cape-like structure. Okay, and then the colony for fixed number of the individual, that is the unicell, that is the Volvox. Okay, see that a colony is there, but the units are independent. Okay, they actually show this colonial form. Colonial form is togetherness. Okay, but they have independent existence. Clear? Then the synobium is also there. Then sinusotic or the siphonaceous thallus is there, and this unbranched filament thallus in the Ulothrix is there, Spirogyra, Cladophora, Heterotrichus, then Stigocolonium and the Parenchymatous in Ulva is also there. Okay, so this is the basic feature. Then see that here some pictures are given about the different green algae. Likewise, this is the Volvox, the Chlamydomonas, and this is the Chara. Chara is called as the seaweeds. Okay, and here you can see that this Volvox, okay, it is not a single cell, it is the colonial structure. Okay, in this, these are unicellular in nature, but they form a ball-like surface. Okay, which give them such a broader surface to locomote. Okay, and with the help of this flagella, they can rotate over the water surface, they can move, they can be very well expose themselves for the photosynthesis. Clear? Then this Volvox is, this Chlamydomonas is there. These are also having flagella. With the help of this flagella, they can respond light very easily, and they may be, they are basically photopositive in nature. But remember, the higher intensity of light, they may give the negative response too. Clear? When we talk about the reproduction, okay, so this member of chlorophyce is basically showing all these three: vegetative, asexual as well as the sexual one. Vegetative, again I am not going to discuss, but the fragmentation, stolons, tubers and the storage cells are there. Okay, simply the asexual is also because of the simple spores, zoospores, aplonospores, hypnospores, echinids and the daughter colonies are there. Okay, now then the sexual reproduction, it may be isogamous, it may be anisogamous, or it may be oogamous. Okay, according to the different species of the green algae. Clear? I think so. It is very well clear that what is the iso, aniso and oogamous. Clear? Okay, now then here the life cycle, basically it may be haplontic, diplontic or diplohaplontic in nature. Okay, and basically They are having the single somatic phase, which is haploid in nature. Diploid stage is represented by the single cell zygote, and immediately it turns into the again haploid stage, that is the by the haplontic life cycle. Clear? Now then here we are moving forward to the second class of the algae, that is the Phaeophyceae, or commonly we call as the brown algae. Yes, what is the reason behind this Phaeophyceae? Because of its brown color, okay, and because of this color pigment. Clear? So these members are basically having the fucoxanthin as their color pigment. Okay, it is multicellular, eukaryotic, okay, basically commonly called as the seaweeds or the kelps, okay, and it comprises nearly 2000 species, right. Habitat, these are basically marine in nature, okay, and even they found in the colder seas, okay, and basically in the cold region or the cold season they grow in the tropical regions. Size, they ranges from simple branch to the filamentous form to profusely branch from the likewise the kelps in nature, and this is also called the giant algae. Clear? And this represents the largest algae, and the largest kelps are that is the macrocystic in nature, that is nearly from 40 to 100 meter in length. Clear? And the necrocystis is from 20 to 30 meter. Cell organization, if you observe, basically they all are multicellular in nature. Cell wall composed of which one thing? Cellulose, pactose and phycocolloids nature, okay, and these are basically remain covered with the gelatinous coating of algin. Okay, this algin or algin is basically protecting it from the water, okay, because of decomposition. And this one in the thallus, it is heterotrichous filaments, okay, both are prostate and upright branches are there, okay, and these are parenchymatous in nature. Parenchymatous means what? The similar type of photosynthetic cells when grouping togetherly to perform normal photosynthetic and stored structure. Clear? And even when they are large in nature, then it may have the hold fast. Okay, remember what is the hold fast? The structure which is in general responsible to fix them with the substratum. Okay, and next one thing, a stalk called the strip and the lamina, that is the frond. Frond means what? The broadened structure, okay, which is responsible to trap the solar energy, okay, and it is also photosynthetic in nature. At conducting the tubes or the trumpet hyphae, these are present in the larger brown algae, that is the kelps, okay, and it is also responsible for conduction of the food material too. Clear? Now then the photosynthetic pigments are basically, it includes the chlorophyll A and C, and also the carotenoids are there. These carotenoids are responsible to give them this color, okay, and these are varies from olive green to various shades of the brown, and depends upon the amount of the xanthophyll which present in it. Clear? That is the which pigment, especially the fucoxanthin. Then when we talk about the food stored material, then here in general they are in the complex food material like the laminaria and the mannitol, okay, and the when we talk about the flagellation, then they are having the heterogon flagellation with one smooth and one tensine flagella, okay. Remember heterogon. Heterogon means what? Two flagellas are there but of the different size and they are working. Clear? Here you can see these diagrams of brown algae. This is the laminaria, this is the fucus, and this is the dictyota. Okay, here you can see that they are having this frond-like structure. Clear? It has quite similar to the leafy structure. This is the branched kelp there. Okay, and it is in general, this broad photosynthetic surface is helpful for trapping and absorption of the sunlight. Clear? Now here we are going for the reproduction. Vegetative reproduction, again common, fragmentation, adventitious branches, stolons are there, okay, no need to describe. asexual reproduction by the biflagellated zoospores. Okay, then next one thing, that is the specialty of these zoospores is, yes, what is the specialty of zoospores? Basically they are oval shape and having flagella, remember, because they are locomotor in nature. Okay, now then when we talk about the sexual reproduction, then it may be isogamy, anisogamy or the oogamy. Okay, and basically this union of the gametes takes place where in the water, okay, or within the oogonium. Okay, what is the oogonium? Oogonium is the female reproductive structure who is responsible to produce the female gamete. Okay, and these gametes are pyriform in nature, that is the pear shape, and have the two lateral attached flagella which is helpful to move. Okay, that means the male gametes move from male gametophyte to female gametophyte, or from the male reproductive organ to the female reproductive with the help of this flagella there. When we talk about the life cycle, there is alternation of generation is found in some algae, likewise the ectocarpus and dictyota, and some brown algae are diploid having the generation. Okay, and in which the diploid phase is predominating in nature. Okay, and the haploid phase is either microscopic or it is represented by the gametes only. That means they show their haploid state only in the gamete stage, and immediately this gamete will fuse and again reaches to the diploid phase. Okay, so this is called the diplontic life cycle. Okay, now then we are talking about the economic importance of the Phaeophyceae. Okay, so these brown algae are basically used for the food. Okay, just like that here it is given, that is the macrocystis in nature, Alaria, laminaria. It is also called as the marine grass, or it is called as the sea grass. Clear? Now then here some brown algae are also there, like with the okay, these brown algae are collected from the seashores and basically used as the manure. Okay, so it is such a good manure, and because it is marine in nature, so it gives this iodine and this kind of material too. Okay, and it is responsible for improving the mineral content of the soil. Clear? Then this alginic acid, which you observe, that is the phycocolloidal in nature, it also from a number of brown algae like the Alaria, macrocystis in nature, okay, and laminaria, and this basically it is used as the emulsifier, thickener, and that is the gelating agent in toothpaste, shaving creams, ice creams, emulsion paints, shampoo, cosmetic. That means these all industries are basically using this emulsification with the help of this algal product. Okay, and this fucus and the laminaria are rich in iodine. Clear? Now then here we are going to third class, that is the red algae. Okay, in this red algae, that is called the Rhodophyceae. Okay, these are basically red in nature because of the predominance of the red color pigment, that is the R-phycoerythrine. Remember what is the thing? R-phycoerythrine. Okay, and its habitat mostly they are marine in nature. Greater concentrations found in the warmer areas. Okay, and they are found in both well lighted regions close to the surface of water, and also at great depths in the oceans where the relatively little light is penetrating nature. Okay, that means from surface to bottom such a wide area of the sea is covered by them. Then the thallus, basically they are multicellular in nature, they are having the complex body, and likewise the asterocystic in nature. That means they are having the divided form in the nature. Okay, there are the pseudofilamentous in nature, and the porphyridium is the unicellular. Porphyra has the parenchymatous sheets, while the Copondrus is the ribbon shape in nature. Glidium is a multicellular seaweeds. Okay, then the cell wall, nothing is special. There are the cellulose, pectin compounds are there. Okay, some of having the mucopolysaccharides are also there. That is the phycocolloids in nature. They are also having the agar, carrageen, okay, and it is basically present in the form of the pits. These pits are there wherein the cell wall to provide it the mechanical strength or the mechanical support. This is called the pitted cell wall. Okay, here the photosynthetic color pigment when we observe, then they are in the chlorophyll. 4 okay, keratins are there, xanthophylls are there, phycobilins are there. These phycobilins are basically soluble in the water, okay, then they are giving the red color, that is the phycoerythrin, and the blue color, that is the phycocyanin is there. So remember, there is the R phycoerythrin and R phycocyanin which give from red to bluish color. The reserve food material if you observe, then the fluoridine starch is present, okay, and which is quite similar to the glycogen and the amyloplankton in nature. If you observe, these two pictures are given here. One, there is the porphyra is there, and second is the polysiphonia is there. Only polysiphonia is quite branched in nature. It quite similar to the shrubs, okay, but it is not actually the shrubs or herbs, clear. And it is quite a leafy structure. Frond means what? That the flat, broad, leafy structure responsible for the absorption of the sunlight there. Okay, now then here the reproduction, vegetative reproduction basically by the fragmentation, and the next one thing, that is the regeneration of holdfast and the gamma cups are there. Okay, remember, fragmentation very clear, regeneration of the holdfast, that means what? What is the holdfast? That rooted structure who is helpful to hold the surface of the substratum, clear. So if the upper surface of the algae is just destroyed, then this holdfast will regenerate into the new one, clear. Then asexual reproduction is basically performed the non-motile spores, okay, that are the carpospores or the monospores or the tetraspores or the neutral spores too, okay. And this sexual reproduction occurs by the non-motile gametes, and basically it is oogamous type in nature, and the male sex organ is called as the spermatogonium because they produce the motile sperm-like structure, or it is called the anthidium too, and the female structure is called as the archegonium, okay. Now next one thing, we are going to discuss the life cycle. Again, these are not having the, which one thing? The embryonic stage is totally absent, clear. That means after the zygote formation, they immediately undergoes in the production of the spore-like structures, okay. And the two, basically this life cycle is either haplontic, haplodiplontic or diplohaplontic in nature. I think so it is very well clear in your mind that what is the haplontic, what is the diplontic, and what is the diplohaplontic in nature. Haplontic means what? When the whole life is predominated with the haploid phase of the cell or structure, okay. Diplontic means what? When the main life phase is the diploid in nature, okay. What is the diplohaplontic in nature? In this one thing, alternation of generation is there. Both this diploid and haploid phase is there, but diploid phase is predominating and haploid phase only comes in the formation of the gametes, okay. So this is the haplontic, diplohaplontic and haplodiplontic in nature. Remember this one thing, okay. Then here we come to discuss the economic importance of the red algae, clear. Like the porphyra, chondrus, then the rhodymania, okay, then the centinella and this bostrichia, and this all food having the parts and the main food components of the world is there. Then this agar is obtaining just to grow as an artificial cultural medium. This Galidium and the Gracilaria and the Cereminum, these are basically responsible for emulsification of the food. And this one thing, this rhodymania, okay, it is used for the fodder of the cattle, okay, nearby the sea coast area, okay. This carrageenan and the phycocolloids is obtained from the red algae, right. And basically it is the this one, no? Which one thing? It is responsible for preparation of the emulsion. Not only for the emulsion, but it is also helpful to produce so many cosmetic products too, okay, because they are quite smooth and somewhat granular in nature. So give them a rusty and the granulated structure. In the toothpaste we actually mix there, okay, and it is also having foam or leather like feature in the which one thing, that is the liquors and the shaving creams too, okay. Then the funaria, okay, it is the adhesive phyllocolides is given by this red algae, okay, and it is basically using in the textiles for seizing, that means to joining, okay. Papers industries as a glue, okay, and some algae like the corallina, then the polysiphonia, these are all having the medicinal properties there, clear. Now when we discuss about these three different groups, the red algae, brown algae and the green algae. So first about their habitat, these two are marine and this is the freshwater, clear. Then when we talk about their cellular composition, okay, so basically this red and brown algae are in general multicellular, while this green algae may be unicellular or multicellular, clear. Then the plant body, that may be filamentous, okay, or having the parenchymatous structure. This is basically filamentous and parenchymatous, and it is may be filamentous, colonial or unicellular, clear. This red color pigment is basically ranging from orange to red, it is brown, it is dark green color, okay. I think so you are well aware of which one thing. Red is, remember what is the color pigments are there, okay. Then it contains the chromatophores, okay, it is also containing chromatophores and they are having the chloroplast, okay. So what is the difference between the chloroplast and the chromatophores, you know very well that, okay. These are basically containing the phycoerythrin pigment, this contains the fucoxanthin and this basically contain which one thing, chlorophyll A and B is a main color pigment, while these carotenes and the other are the secondary color pigment, clear. Store food material in the form of the fluoridine starch, store food material in the form of the mannitol and the laminarians, okay, and the fats. Here the purely starch form is there, clear. Here the motile cells are absent in the life cycle. Motile cell find only which phase, that is the gametic phase, okay, and here it is also found for their reproductive phase, clear. Alternation of generation is found in all these three form of the algae, clear. So this is all about the algae. Now we are moving forward toward the bryophytes, clear. Now bryophytes, it include the basically the mosses and the liverworts. Remember, bryophyte means the group of liverworts and the mosses, clear. These are non-vascular embryophytes. Remember, this is the basic difference between the algae and the bryophyte. Now the embryonic stage is entered into their life cycle, clear. It is basically characterized by the presence of an independent gametophyte and the parasitic sporophyte, okay. Remember these two words, independent gametophyte, that means there is an independent plant body which is only responsible to produce the gametes, clear, and the parasitic sporophyte, okay. When after the fusion of the gametes, it will form the diploid sporophyte, okay, but this sporophyte is not this is not independent in nature, okay. It will depends on the gametophyte for its nutrition, clear. Then when we talk about the habitat, then these bryophytes commonly grown in the moist shaded areas in the hill. These are also called the amphibians, okay, of the plants. Why we call the amphibians of the plant? Because to complete their life cycle they compulsorily require the water as the medium, okay. And basically you know that what is the need of this water? This water is in general needed to carry the male gametes to the female gametes, okay, and they can also live in the soil but are dependent on the water for the sexual reproduction. The rhizoids are there. These are basically responsible for the attachment of this thallus-like structure to the substratum, clear, but these are not branched in nature, okay. Then sex organs, when we talk about this one, then who is responsible to produce the gametes, okay, and basically it is present the gametophytes, clear, and they are multicellular. These are called the antheridium, the male reproductive gamete organ, and the flower shape, the female sex organ, that is called the archegonium. So remember these two words, one is antheridium and second is the archegonium. Antheridium is just like a bulbous, that the baseball like bat structure, okay, and this oogonium, or what we call that is the archegonium. It is actually cup shaped structure which is responsible to produce a single egg is there, whose body is divided into the guard cell, neck cell, and the basic, that is the ovarian structure. Okay, when we talk about the reproduction, so basically sexual type of reproduction is predominantly there, okay, and they produce the anthrazoids, okay, and which produced by the which one thing, antheridium, and then later they comes in the archegonium, clear. The fertilization when we observe, then this one is the internal in nature and perform where in the archegonium, clear. This here actually this egg secrete chemical structure which is responsible to attract the male gametes, okay, and here it compulsorily requires the water film for the swimming of the anthrazoids, clear, and when they reaches to the female one, then at the guard cell or at the top of the neck, this guard cell who absorb this water and get swell up, it is responsible for rapturing, and then later this neck cell will use to decompose by this one thing, okay. Now then their fusion will responsible to restore the diploid condition, that is a zygote, and this zygote will develop into the sporophyte like structure, okay. This sporophyte is dependent in nature, as I told you, this sporophyte is not autotrophic in nature, it grows on the gametophyte only, okay, and this sporophyte is not free living but attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte, okay, who is responsible for nourishing it, and then sporophyte develop finally, then it divided meiotically and it formed the haploid spores who again give birth to the haploid gametophytic stage, clear. So here the clearly alternation of generation is observed, clear. Now when we talk about the life cycle, so they are the heteromorphic or the heterogamous alternation of generation is there, okay. They may be produced the directly first form of the juvenile stage, and that is the protonyma. Juvenile stage is which one thing? That is the earlier non-reproductive phase, that is called the juvenile phase, remember. And what is the phase? That is the protonyma, okay. Now here the economic importance of this bryophytes, clear. This bryophytes is basically the little economic importance, but they are having the several species or they are provide us the which one thing, great importance, okay. Just like this mosses, okay, it is used for the food for the herbaceous mammals, birds and other animals, clear. Then this like with the sphagnum, okay, it provides the pit that have the long been used as fuel, okay, and it has the capacity to hold water as packing material for transshipment of the living material, okay. When we are carrying this plants and something from one place to another one, then roots is properly covered with this mosses because they are very much hygroscopic and store the water in this. The mosses along with the lichens are first organism to colonize rocks, that's why they have the great importance of biological succession, okay, from transmission from one level to the next level of the life, okay. And when they are responsible for decomposition of the rocks, they are responsible for the formation of the soil, okay, pedogenesis there, okay. And these mosses are form the dense mat of the soil, and they reduce the impact of the falling rain and the prevent soil erosion because they form such a thickened level of the layer of the green carpet like structure, so who protect it from the soil erosion. Then this Markensia has medicinal properties to cure the lungs and liver infections, okay. It has it also has which thing antitum or properties there. Okay, then this bryophyte do not attain the greater heights because of this reason. They have 0.4 to 70 centimeter in thalite body. Okay, and what is the reason? The root is absent, so that's why large quantity of water mineral cannot be absorbed. Vascular tissue is not present, so water cannot be transported. Okay, cuticle is not present in the plant body, so the mechanical support is not given to the leaves and the branches. Okay, the absence of the mechanical tissue and especially the male gamete need to swim up to the interior of the diasis archegonia. So for this one thing, they needed a flat surface, they needed the water film for transporting this one thing. So that's the reason why they are not riches of this one thing. Clear? This bryophyte is further divided into two categories. One there is the liverworts and second is the mosses. Clear? And here these liverworts are there. It is called as the Hepaticopsida. Okay, it is basically grows on the moist, shady places or even at the bank of the streams too. They are on the marshy ground, damp soil, the barks of the trees and even deep in the woods too. Clear? When you talk about the thallus, then these are basically thalloid in nature. The very well example is the Markensia. Okay, this thallus is the dorso-ventrally flattened in nature. That means they are having two surfaces, the sun facing and the opposite one. Clear? And this leafy that members basically having the appendages in the rows. Okay, just to facilitate the photosynthetic surface area as well as the exchange of the gases too. Rhizoids are there. They are basically unicellular. Don't call it the roots because they are not branched in nature. Okay. Similarly, this thallus-like structure, the upper surface is responsible for the photosynthesis, the middle for the storage, and the lower one for the absorption. Clear? And here they are having the unicellular filamentous structures. Okay. Then the reproduction, basically asexual and sexual is there. Asexual is again by forming the which one thing, some special structure, that is the gamete, a gamma cup like structure where inside this one thing they form small gamma in nature. Okay, and these are basically unicellular to multicellular in nature. They are bird like structure. Okay, and finally they germinate and grow into the new individual. Remember, they form a special structure that is called the gamma cup. Inside this gamma they form the small budded structure that is called the gametes. Then sexual reproduction, the female gamete produce which one thing, either same or the different structures. Okay, and the spherophyte is differentiated into the foot, seta and the capsule. Remember, this capsular structure is the most important, who is responsible to produce the spores. Okay, and then later, so I advise you to learn the structure of this capsule in a detail along with the diagram. Okay, now then see that these two structures are given. This is the male thallus and the female thallus of the Markensia. Okay, you can see that this is the archegoniophore and that is the anthridiophore. This is the archegonium and that is the anthridium, which is basically used to produce something male and female gametes. Okay, remember these are the gamma cups which is basically responsible for asexual mode of reproduction. Okay, these are the rhizoidal structures which is responsible for the absorption of the water and mineral from the soil. Clear? Now then we are going to discuss the mosses. Okay, these mosses are also considered the Bryopsida. Okay, it basically grows in the form of the dense mat over the moist shady places. Clear? Likewise in the especially in the rainy season. Clear? Now then the plant body, it is actually the predominant stage of the life cycle of moss is the gametophyte in nature. Okay, it contains the two phases. One, there is the protonema phase, okay, which is responsible for the development of the spores, directly developed from the spores. Okay, and the creeping, green, branched and frequently, as we call it, the juvenile phase, because it is not the reproductive one. Okay, and then the secondary stage is the leafy stage, which develop from the secondary protonema as a lateral bud. Okay, and which is basically bearing the sex cells there only. Then the rhizoids are there. Again similarly, they are present on the lower surface, unicellular, hyphae-like structure responsible for absorption and transportation of water and minerals are there. Okay, reproduction may be vegetative, may be sexual also there. Vegetative reproduction is basically performed by again the fragmentation, budding and by the formation of the second protonema. Okay, then the sexual reproduction is basically performed by the male reproductive organ, that is the antheridia, and the female reproductive organ, that is the archegonia. Clear? They produces at the anteriormost part of the leafy structure. Okay, and later on they will form the gametes who get fuses, fertilizes, form the zygote, and the zygote will form the sporophytic structures. Okay, and the sporophyte is not independent, it grows on the gametophyte. Clear? This you can see that this is the gametophytic phase, okay, which is diploid in nature, and then after this apex of the leaves is responsible to produce the antheridium and archegonium, who is responsible to produce the gametes. This gamete will fuses and they form the zygote, who is responsible to produce the sporophytic phase. The sporophytic phase is dependent on the gametophytic phase, and here it is having this base, seta and the capsular. This capsular structure is basically responsible to produce the spores. When it will be fully mature, then this mature phase get bursted and is responsible for the dispersal of the spores, and these spores will be responsible for germination and the production of the new one. Clear? We can take a look of the difference between the liverworts and the mosses. Clear? So these are dorsoventral, they have the radial symmetry. Clear? These are basically the male thallus is the foliose in nature, that is like the leaf like, okay, while they are also having the foliose nature. The midrib is not present here, you can find the unbranched midrib is there. The rhizoids are unicellular and unbranched, here it is multicellular and branched in nature. This plant bear the scales, while here it is the scales is absent, that means they don't needed the external production is there. Okay, and a conducting strand is absent, here the conducting strand is present, which is responsible for transportation of water and mineral. Sporophyte is different in the food, seta and capsule, while here it is not differentiated into this one thing. Okay, capsules often possess the elaters, elaters are absent. What is the function of elaters? These are the thread-like structure who just cover the outer body, and by absorbing the water they are responsible for the dispersal and the rapturing of the capsule. Okay, the dehiscence occurs through the elaters, while this peristome perform this function. Peristome means what? At the apical most part a lead-like structure is there, okay, who is the perforated in nature and responsible for releasing the spores. Okay, and the protonema stage is absent, while the juvenile stage is called the protonema. Remember, this protonema may be primary and secondary. Secondary protonema is produces from the primary protonema, right? So this is all about the algae and the bryophytes. Clear? So I hope so you remember this one thing. It will be helpful for your further learning, okay, and also for the processing. Okay, clear? Remember the diagrams, learn the diagrams, how to draw them. Okay, remember what is the differences between the haplontic, diplontic and diplohaplontic type of life cycle. So thank you very much for listening me patiently and carefully. Thank you.